cure everybody, and you're out of business. Why would anyone work? Here in America, you have to work for your healthcare. It's a good system.
What do you mean by that?
If there was a substance that could kill any illness, even death itself, what would you do with that information? Would you deny it, seek it, test it, grow it, maybe share it, or even sell it? You tell me, what would you do?
Is this all real?
This is very fucking real!
Earlier this year, Adult Swim released Common Side Effects, a genre-blending TV series fusing together mystery thriller, dark comedy, and psychedelic visuals into a ride that's weirdly believable and weirdly terrifying. Without giving too much away, the story follows Marshall Cuso, an intelligent mycologist who discovers a rare mushroom that apparently cures everything. Sounds like a miracle, right? But this discovery sets off a chain reaction, with the big pharma, government agents, and other shady forces scrambling to erase the mushroom. Sets off a chain reaction. But here's the thing, Common Side Effects doesn't just point fingers at power. It makes you ask, what would I do if I had that cure? This show critiques the system, but also challenges the individual. So today I want to take you on a trip, literally and figuratively, as we embark on a journey through the conspiracy, the symbolism, and the one big thing we often get wrong when we try to explain the world with our senses. Conspiracy theories are addictive. Our brains naturally seek patterns, so when we see conspiracy theories, they give us an explanation, an order to the chaos. From the Illuminati to reptile people to the moon landing, we're hooked on these stories, riding the fine line between absurdity and believability, because if the government is hiding something from us, and there are secretly some evil CEOs handling everything from behind the scenes, then we found our ultimate scapegoat. Hollywood has capitalized on this. Comically evil CEOs, shadowy men in suits. The media loves to portray that they understand the patriarchy or corporate greed or whatever else that people constantly find complaints in. However, in simplification, they lose the nuance. They fail to address the truth in the fears and all the things that come in between. Common Side Effects, on the other hand, takes a conspiracy theory and weaves it into plausible truth. Yes, there is someone at the top trying to snuff out all hope of this cure-all mushroom, but there are other people moving the pieces too, and their individual actions also affect the chain of events. When the dominoes start falling down, every individual is complicit. Look at how the characters react. Frances hides behind her very real medical and student debt, but she uses that worry over her mother and her financial security to kind of justify her actions. So when she actively works against Marshall and feeds Ryuta a new product, she says, "There's a reason behind this, and I'm actually in the right." Marshall, on the other hand, idealizes a world where he can get the mushroom to the right people at the right time. He's all about saving lives. But somehow he constantly trusts the wrong people with what he's found. At the same time that he hates Big Pharma for trying to snuff out the hope and his entire existence and keep him from giving this to the public, he also starts to slowly realize that the side effects are unknown and unpredictable, and he needed to do way more testing before trying to put this out to the public. Capano and Harrington are also really great examples of this, one of them being more dogmatic and one of them being more skeptical of the law and trying to go behind the law to find the truth. All of these perspectives function for one thing. They show us the nuance of conspiracy theories. Because the fact of the matter is, conspiracies are nothing more than a coping mechanism. When something goes horrifically wrong for inexplicable reasons, when we fail to understand how we could have gotten to a certain place, conspiracy theories give us some kind of relief, a temporary truth, even if it's false. We create myths that we literally can't fight against, therefore shedding our responsibility and actively ignoring the problems that are very real. In restoring control, we sacrifice our agency, and that's the most dangerous side effect of all.
It's not a perfect system, but it's a system.
The healthcare industry is a really hard topic to tackle through television, just because everyone's affected by it, and therefore everyone has opinions on it. Even I do. I mean, do I think that the United States has a broken healthcare industry? Yes. Do I believe that insurance companies are probably somewhat scamming people and definitely denying some people the right to healthcare? Yes. However, even if I can acknowledge that capitalism has created this cesspool of corruption and greed with no regulation in sight, does it mean that I will just take that at face value and therefore become anti-vax, anti-doctor, and seek all forms of strange natural medicine? I don't think so. And I like that this TV show explores the concept of what is the truth in the fear that we have. Because there is truth. We are not certain that we are putting the right medicine into our bodies, and even more so after COVID. I can tell you a personal story. My aunt died because of COVID. She passed away April 2021. She lived in Venezuela, and she could not have access to healthcare because Venezuela is in a really poor economic and political state. There's a dictatorship. All the doctors have left because of brain drain, and I could get into that, but this is not a political channel. Let's just say that the healthcare system there was broken, and she had no access to anything. She passed away, and it was really, really difficult on my family, to the point where, like, we were all broken. We all didn't know what to think. We all thought that the situation was unfair, and she should have been done better, and I hadn't gotten to see her in such a long time. It broke my dad the most. That was his little sister. I can't imagine losing my sister. But it changed him. It made him completely mistrust all doctors. He doesn't want anything to do with them. He doesn't want to go to checkups. He doesn't trust their opinions. He doesn't trust medicine. And what I've seen happen in the last 4 years is that he's become more and more extreme in his opinions and his conspiracies about how doctors are keeping us sick and how we shouldn't take any medicine and we shouldn't go to checkups and we don't need any vaccines. My sister literally texted me earlier today saying that he's now taking random pills and he's buying like monitors for himself so that he can check on himself from home. And I'm just like, this cannot be how we start to live. I understand the fear. I understand the uncertainty. We can't flip to the other side and just expect that that is the answer. Is it possible that there are natural remedies to a lot of the illnesses that we have? I believe that too. And if there were some kind of mushroom that healed everything, you don't think that would have been leaked by now? There is a story that I read from a cancer patient, or former cancer patient, because they are now in remission and recovered. They asked their chemotherapy, like nurse, doctor, whatever in the room, and they were like, hey, so is there really no cure? Like, is there no, really nobody has this cure and is hiding it from the public or something? And the nurse answered, no. Because if there were truly something that big, something that could cure everything, it would have definitely gotten leaked by now. And that nurse told the patient, we've had cancer patients who are wealthy, and they come in here and they immediately start to ask, hey, so if we pay a little bit of extra, can you get some of the good stuff, the better treatment? We're willing to pay anything to make sure that this goes into remission. We'll do whatever it takes to basically cure cancer. And it's money can only get you so far. Capitalism is only part of the problem, but we really don't understand a lot of how the human body works. And maybe we're not meant to.
I met a new friend recently who, at the age of 17, suffered so many concussions and repetitive injuries that he was basically left in a vegetative state. He couldn't walk, he couldn't talk, and doctors thought he would never recover. But somehow he did, miraculously, and he can't even explain it. He just knows that he basically willed himself to be cured. That's kind of what I'm talking about when I say that the processes of the body are so beyond our understanding, even with modern medicine. And there's something that I really picked up from this book, Alan Watts' The Wisdom of Insecurity. And he says that It wasn't through statements that we learned how to breathe, swallow, circulate the blood, digest food, or resist diseases. Yet these things are performed by the most complex and marvelous processes which no amount of book learning and technical skill can reproduce. This is the real wisdom, but our brains have little to do with it. Things like breathing, walking, running, we learn them, but we don't learn how to do them. There's no step-by-step process. There's no greater explanation. We couldn't possibly just define it by words, but it's something that our bodies innately know how to do. When I was learning why do you think one of the greatest ways to calm down the nervous system is actually to slow down the breath, to regulate, to bring back to awareness that your body is a living, breathing thing and that it is always going through the natural processes of life. So sometimes healing can happen beyond biology. It doesn't have to be all based on pills and drugs. We can hold the key to our own health, at least when it comes to like living better, living optimally. And we don't need all these supplements and steroids and drugs to get to that level of health. Our bodies know what to do. We just need to know how to feed our bodies correctly. And that is wisdom, not from the brain, but wisdom from the body. It's intuitive. It's already there. The solutions are here. Another really great thing that Alan Watts says is that we've been taught to neglect, despise, and violate our bodies, and to put faith in our brains instead. It says that the special disease of civilized man might be described as a block or schism between his brain, scientifically the cortex, and the rest of his body. This corresponds to the split between I and me, man and nature, to the confusion of Ouroboros, the mixed-up snake who does not know that his tail belongs to his head. We have become so engrossed with optimizing health, with blaming the government for why our bodies are, having dysfunction, experiencing dysfunction. And as much as genetics plays a part, so does the way that we show up for ourselves, the way that we feed our bodies. What are we doing in our practices to listen to what our bodies actually are trying to tell us?
And we see that perfectly mirrored in common side effects, where every character tries to box in the portal, but the portal defies definition. Instead of forcing it into logic, they have to open themselves to listen, to surrender. Whether the portal responds depends on whether the person is willing to sit, observe, and let go of control. Take Francis and Marshall. At first, the mushroom trips seem insignificant, but over time, their connection to the portal deepens, and that's when things start to shift. They begin to see visions not just from their own lives, but from each other's. There's a tether forming, not in the 3D, but in the 4D. That's a huge moment because they don't understand what's happening. They're just kind of flowing with it. Even the little people that emerge from the mushroom's world, they begin in hallucinations, but slowly bleed into the character's real world experiences. And we're left with this haunting question of who are they and what do they represent? We don't know, and maybe we're not supposed to. Maybe this show will never reveal that to us. And that's okay. I have a friend who shared his DMT trip with me, and it sounded eerily similar. He talked about geometric shapes that pulsated and changed colors based on his emotions. And he saw what he could only describe as non-physical entities. Ghosts, demons, he couldn't quite define it, but he came back with one deep understanding. This just is, and we're not meant to decode it. The same theme shows up early in the show. Remember the pigeon Marshall heals with the mushroom? When it dies, it travels back through space, time, atoms, molecules, not to where it came from, but to what it used to be. This egg. It's not life, it's death, and that death leads to rebirth. The universe is just part of the journey back home. You have to push through it to get back to the beginning. It's all connected. Frances's visions also mirror her emotional patterns. Faces morph into other faces, different people, same cycle. She's been dancing the same dance with everyone in her life, and she's ready to change that. She needs to die in order for the new Frances to be born. Because if you want different results, you gotta make different decisions. That's the rebirth she chases, and that's exactly what she does. But not everyone gets that chance. Look at Jonas. His obsession with greed, control, it consumes him. Each rebirth leaves him more formless and grotesque. And I'm not going to show too much of what happens, but he's just a muck of everything he never dealt with. He didn't break the cycle, he became it. And there's my one caveat to if anyone wants to delve into, natural hallucinogenic drugs for experiences, that they might not otherwise be able to have. This is my disclaimer saying that yes, it does have the power to reorient your life. Maybe you will learn something. That's great. It also has the power to leave you emotionally scarred and disrupting your understanding of reality. That literally also happens in Common Side Effects. We have an extra character who Marshall saves after he dies from a car crash, and then this same character reappears later in the narrative, at first being shown on the news to kind of like worship Marshall as an angel and say that he had this miraculous experience. And then after a while, the hallucinations really get to him and disrupt his understanding of reality to the point where he doesn't know what's real and what's happening in his 3D anymore. And that is when things become a problem. So yeah, just wanted to touch on that. Common Side Effects though, that is a show that's layered in conspiracy, death, rebirth, and healing. And the show's biggest question isn't about what's wrong with the system, it's what are you still blaming? So you don't have to change. Because both Marshall and Francis, the main characters, along with Capano and Harrington, they have to go through changes in order to reorient how they show up in the situations that they find themselves in. Maybe that's the most radical choice. It's not about decoding the mystery, it's staying open to it, listening, surrendering, letting your body lead the way. The human brain doesn't even know how it creates thoughts. But we live like we understand everything, and that's how we start missing what's real. If we listened more to our bodies without demanding answers, that could actually be the most revolutionary act to take against the system. So yeah, this show has a lot to say, and I've got more to say about Francis specifically, so stay tuned for that video. Until then, keep listening to the system, silence, and to your own body.